Hey, hello, this is Larry Martin, aka the Wood Whirler. Today what I want to talk about is the beginner. I know there's lots of you guys out there that you want to get into this hobby, but you really don't know how to start, and you probably think it's really super expensive. It does cost money, but I would suggest that you get in it for the least amount of money you can to begin with. And so I'm going to show you how to do this and what I think. But first, I guess as a disclaimer, this is what I'm going to tell you is all my opinion. It's what I think and what I do. It doesn't necessarily reflect the right way or the wrong way. It's just my opinion. Now, I know I'm probably going to get some comments that people disagree with me. I expect that, but that's okay. Don't try to make them decent. Don't be a smart ass. Being that way only reflects on your character, not mine. So moving right along, first thing I would suggest to anybody who's interested in learning to wood turn, you start off by watching YouTube. That's what I did. I watched YouTube for probably, maybe a month or two before I even bought a lathe. And when I did, I'd sit there for probably 2 or 3 weeks before I touched it because I was a little bit afraid of it. So I just kept going back to YouTube and looking up these beginner videos from different people, Mike Walt and some of the others. And they're quite good. Some of the things they say I don't agree with now that I have experience. I've been turning for several years now. I think this video is number 156. Several of them got deleted earlier, so I think there's only like 70 or 80 of them actually online now. One time I thought I was modifying a playlist when I first started, and I just wanted to delete the ones off the playlist and didn't realize I was deleting them from YouTube, period. And there was no way to get them back if I didn't have a copy. I did find some of them, but all of them I didn't have. Anyway, that's neither here or there. So you start off and you spend a lot of time watching YouTube. You get ideas of what you want to do. So the first thing I would suggest is that you get a cheap lathe. I don't mean a piece of junk, but I got a Harbor Freight lathe, the 36-inch Harbor Freight, and it's after coupon and everything, it was somewhere around $300, so forth. And they're if you don't like it, they're pretty easy to turn around and resell. You might even make some money. But anyway, that's what I would buy. I don't know about a tabletop lathe. I've never used one, never had one, so I can't say anything about it. But I do know a lot about that one. I actually modified mine with a treadmill motor and all kinds of stuff, and finally decided that I like turning bigger things. And the thing about it is, you can turn big things with a big lathe, but you can't turn big things with a small lathe. With a big lathe, you can turn small things, if that all makes sense to you. But again, you're talking about a lot more money, so make sure it's what you want to do before you spend all the money. So I would suggest, a Harbor Freight lathe. Now this is something I know is people don't agree with me on. I would totally stay away from traditional turning tools in the beginning. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'm just saying that, what happened is when you go, no matter where you buy them, I bought my first ones. I started with traditional tools, and I still have them. I bought some Harbor Freight ones. Well, what happens then, once you get them, you say, well, hell, I've got to figure out some way to sharpen them. Now, maybe you got a grinder, and they're usually a high speed, and they work, but, it's real easy to lose your temper with one of those. Your temper on your tool, not your temper. Okay, so it's easy to do that because they get hot and you lose that, and you'll never be able to keep an edge again. So you'll end up going buying your low speed grinder. There's one right here. I think you can see it. It's good, and then you will, you'll start trying to sharpen them by hand. You'll find that even though a lot of people can do it, you can't be consistent. So then you'll end up buying, some of this other stuff here. like Randy, parts of, jigs and stuff so you can maintain consistency. So now you're talking about, you bought your traditional tools, you find out you got to sharpen them, then you got to buy one of these, which I don't even remember what it costs, let's say $150, and you got to buy all this, and there's somewhere around between $150 and $200 in addition to your cutting tools. And before you know it, you're way up there in the money. You probably spent, including your lathe, you're probably in about $600-700 range altogether. Now what I suggest, and if I had to do it over again, I would do it this way. I would just go with carbides to begin with. You can get them relatively reasonable from Captain Eddie. I'll put a link down below. Plus, you can find them in other places. Some of your carbide tools are pretty dang expensive, but if you're capable of making your own tools and only have to buy the cutters, you can really get by reasonably. Now, I suggest that you need basically 4 tools to start with. You don't need any more than this. I mean, it's a blessing if you have them, but if you don't, then you don't use them, because your Harbor Freight lathe comes with a face plate and a drive center and a live center. So you can get by with those until you move on a little bit. You mostly can do spindle work, and you can do some bowls, but you'll end up having to buy a chuck and stuff like that. I mean, it just adds up one thing after another. So what I'm saying is, really be serious as to where you want to go before you spend the money. Because even though you can probably get your money back on your lathe, you won't get it back on those other tools. So anyway, I made calls my own. When I first started, I didn't do a very good job, but maybe I don't now. But I think the 4 tools you need is, you need a carbide square cutter. Now I use a 15 millimeter R2, and I get mine from Captain Eddie. I think you get 3 of them for $29, and that includes the screws. And now, if the term R2 fools you, let me give you a quick demonstration here as what R2 means. If you take and draw you a 2-inch circle like that, I'll bring it up here where you can see it better. So you draw you a 2-inch circle, and that's more than 2 inches, but this is just for demonstration. See if you can still see that. And if you take 15 millimeters straight across any area right here, which is the width of your cutter, this radius right here is your R2 radius. Now if you have a big circle like this, say that's a 6-inch circle and a 15 millimeter, this radius is going to be less. I prefer the R2 radius. So that's how that's explained. So I hope you can understand that. Lighting's not great in here. So tools. So I would get one of these, like this. I would get what's called, some people call it a finishing tool, some people call it a point tool. I will get that cutter. And I use either a 15 or 17-inch round cutter. That's the 3 carbide tools I use. Now the other tool, which is, you can get by without it, but it's sure handy, and that's to have a parting tool. That's a high-speed steel parting tool. You can make your own. Here's a couple examples. I believe this one is made out of a saw blade off of a skill saw. You see I got the carbide tip right there. It works quite well. And this one is one I made a while back. It does not hold an edge. I need to harden it. But I need to test it. I really don't know if that's high carbon steel. If it's low carbon steel, you can't harden it. So that's what you need. And of course, I have my beaver. And you guys, I'm not successful in finding anybody to build them. I was going to sell them, but these companies, they want a 3D drawing. They want it in this format. They want it in that format. And I just can't do those kind of things. I had them done, and then somebody come back and say, well, we need it in another format. Well, people don't do this stuff free. So, you know, I'm used to the old days. You would take this to machine shop and say, hey, build me one of these. And, you know, if they need drawings, they'd do their own. But nowadays, you know, they got these computerized CNC machines and they're lazy. I mean, they want you to do all the front end work and hand it to them, they feed it in the machine. That's all they want to do, which is, you know, and then they want to charge you out the yang for it. I had one machine shop wanted $35 a piece to build these out of mild steel. And of course, time you do that, time you buy the cutters, you can't sell them at a reasonable price and still make some money. So there you go. Now the other thing you must have, now this probably should have been the first thing. You've got to have one of these, guys. Now, you know, goggles are fine, they work fine, big glasses, but this not only protects your eyes, it protects your face. And believe me when I tell you, I have had things hit this that sound like a 22 bullet hit it sometimes. So, you know, this is first. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about needing these 4 tools right here. So you're talking about, let's just, oh, I don't know altogether. You're talking a couple $100 probably, if you buy the entire thing. If you buy just the cutters, you know, you're talking about between 15 and 30 bucks. A lot of places they get like $15 to $20 for a single cutter, so I strongly recommend buying them from Captain Eddie. You can get 3 of them plus screws for just a little more than a lot of places charge for a single one. And you know, if you're lucky to be able to make your own, that's so much good. I believe Captain Eddie has everything you really need. Parting tool, you can't make it, you know, you go, I bought mine, this comes from Harbor Freight, it works just fine. You don't use it that often. Plus, I believe, you know, you could get by with saws or you could even use this point tool here for a parting tool. It would be a little wide cut, but you could do it. It could be done if necessary. You could at least start it and finish it up with a saw. So there's where we are on that. So, you know, that's what I suggest now. When it comes to using carbide tools, there's 2 schools of thought. And one of them is that you watch these deals on TV and they're always telling you to hold it flat at this kind of angle right here. Well, I don't do that. I'm going to demo it here in a little while. I use it whichever way I need it. It's sort of hard to explain without demoing it. And I do take this R2 cutter here and I shear cut with it, holding it at a 45-degree angle. I think a lot of people, if you see my videos, you know what I'm talking about. Now, I started traditional tools, otherwise I wouldn't have all this sharpness stuff I hardly ever use. And then, you know, when you buy a grinder, before you know what you want to buy CBN wheels, and you know, they're like $150 a piece, so you know, it just snowballs on you after a while. And I've got a lot of equipment, but you know, I'm sort of committed to it. It's what I like to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get set up over here with something on the lathe, and then I'll demonstrate these tools to you, or for you, and we'll go from there. All right, I just went out in the backyard and picked up a piece of sweet gum I had out there. Sweet gum is about the most worthless wood there is for almost anything. I got lots of it. Anyway, I just went over to the bandsaw and cut off a little chunk just for this demonstration. I'm not going to make anything. What we're going to do, we're going to turn this between centers now. You turn between centers, basically what it means is that you've got something like this on the drive end, you know, the end that causes it to turn, and you've got one of these. This is called a live center, this is called a drive center on the other end. All right, now this is, I haven't seen too many guys do it my way, but I am really big on safety. So you take a piece like this right here, and first thing you want to do is find center. Quite frankly, I generally just, you know, I like to call it use the swag method. It's a scientific wild ass guess. But you know, you can go spend your $10 or $15 on something like that. I did. I very seldom use them. When I get bigger, I use a template. But basically what you do is you slide it up here on these little grooves right here till it stops. like that, and you draw your line. And you take it to another spot over here, and you draw you another line. And that's your approximate center right there. Now the way I do it is, I'll take something like an awl or something, and I'll make myself a little place right in the center of it. Now, like I said, this is my method. It doesn't mean it's the only method. It doesn't mean it's the right method, but I can guarantee you it's a safe method. So I take a drill and a 1-inch Forster bit. Now Forster bits, they look like this right here. They're made strictly for wood. This little kid here is probably the first one I ever bought, and it's a product of Harbor Freight. I cannot remember what it cost, but I don't believe it was very much. They're all right. I haven't had any real problems with it. I think I got a video on how to sharpen them. If not, somebody asked, I'll do one on it. So you can sharpen them. They're not high quality, but they're good enough for this. So you take a 1-inch Forster bit, and then your little mark you made right there, and I always drill it down to about halfway. Now, this will become evident here just in a second as to what we're doing. And when I walk out, must have had a hard spot there, made it walk, but I should have made my little divot deeper. So what this does for you right here is it gives you a pocket for this to fit in, so that when spinning it just can't come out sideways. And then I take the other end and I'll just I'll do a swag like I told you I always do. Approximate center. That's some soft wood there. When the wood is soft, you need to take extra precaution because it gives up on you a lot quicker. And what I'll do here is I'll use, this is called a step drill. You don't have to do this either. You can just use any kind of drill really, just to make I like to make a deeper place for this to fit in rather than that point. You come in here and here you go. That's all you need to do there. And what that does is that gives you a much deeper place right here. So by the time you get this one in this end and that one in that end, it ain't coming out unless it breaks in two. So let's go over to the lathe and we'll start talking about it a little bit. All right, all lathes are basically the same regardless of what they cost. They're nothing but, which makes me often wonder a lot how come some of them cost so much money. But basically what they are, they're a motor. This one happens to be a 3-horse. Your Harbor Freight is 3/4 of a horse, which is quite weak and it's easy to stall, but that has its benefits. It sort of teaches you to control your tools better because it's not going to keep whirling. You can stall it. Okay. This is the headstock. That's where all your main shaft and your belts are in it. Mine happens to have a couple belts for different speeds, and it's variable speed. And you come over here. This is called your tailstock. This area down here, this flat right here, is called your ways. It's what everything slides on. This thing right here, mine's modified. Everything I got's modified. This is called a banjo. Now, why it's called a banjo, I have no earthly idea, but that's what it's called. So what you do, let's get back over to here now. I'm coming over there a little bit. Get this out of the way. Okay, this one will go into here now. This is a M2 taper, Morris taper. And sometimes you have to roll your headstock out a little bit to get it to fit all the way in. And this is also has an M2 taper right in here. What I do, you just mount it right here. I take this in right here with the 1-inch bit, and I drive that in a little bit. And what that does, it makes it work so hard to get out. I guess it's sort of making my point, isn't it? All right. What that does is these teeth right here, it makes places for them to grab. So let's put it back in. Get that back out of the way. And we'll set this into right here. And we'll go into this hole if we can hit it. And push it up away like that. Now, go ahead and get your real snug fit. Tighten this. This is, just keeps this from walking in case some of them do. Mine doesn't, but some of them do. All right. And the first thing you want to do is anytime you put anything in here, no matter what, is you want to spin it up with it just sitting there and you stand way to the side. Because if this happened to come apart, the trajectory, because it turns this way, the trajectory is going to be right towards you. So that's what you need to do. All right. So there you go. Bark flew off. That's a good example right there of what I was talking about. All right. Turn this back down. Another thing I like to do is I like to grab the hand wheel. The Harbor Freight one does not have a hand wheel. I was going to tell you earlier that the Harbor Freight, I think, is a exact knockoff of a Lathe you can get at Jet. But the Jet was about $700. I mean, its parts are totally interchangeable. I don't know the number of it, but you can buy a hand wheel from them that will fit your Harbor Freight. So you do this, just making sure that it doesn't slip into here. So there you go. All right, the next thing you want to have is you want to have a tool rest to go on here. Your lathe will come with one, and there are several different ones. I make most of my own, but you can buy them. This one came with this lathe right here. This is a 14-inch one. Okay, grab you not any tool. Sorry, that was a mistake to say that. Grab the tool you're going to use. All right, bring it up here. Move your tool rest in. I have to get a different tool rest here. That'll work right there. And you want to set your height first. Okay, what you want to be cutting on the center. In other words, the part closest to you, so that your cutting edge is hitting the part closest to you, which is 99% of the time the center. So go ahead and straighten it up and tighten it there. Now, use the whole banjo to move it back and forth. Okay, you want to whirl this a little bit, and you want to find the part that is the closest to the tool rest and move it to about a 1/4 inch off. Like right there. Now tighten it down there. All right. See, that's going to give you your cutting right here. All right. Okay, this is the square cutter. This is my R2 square cutter. They make one. I've got one over here, which is the same thing that you can buy from Easy Woods, except I made my own naturally, but it's totally square. And they call theirs an Easy Rougher. Now it's a lot easier to get catches with one that's totally square, in my opinion. But they use it for roughing. You can also use the other one. I prefer the R2. I very rarely use this. My grandson uses it, but I very rarely use it. So Next thing you got to do is turn your hat around backwards and get you a face mask. This is the one I use the most. I put these leather aprons on mine. It keeps stuff from going down your collar. Plus it is some protection for flying objects. And I wear gloves. Now you're going to hear all kinds of things about people saying, oh, gloves are dangerous and so forth. Well, yes, they are, but nothing's dangerous if you don't touch something turning. So the bottom line is keep your cotton picking hands, gloved or ungloved, away from this when it's turning. And that's the rule of thumb. I paint all my wrists red. Not so much for me, but I have a couple grandsons that like to turn, and I like to remind them that this is a red line. And what it means is that when this is turning, you don't cross that red line. The only time you cross it is barehanded when you're sanding. Other than that, you never touch this. Now, I have developed muscle memory where, I don't even have to think about reaching across there because I just don't do it. If you don't put your hands there, you ain't going to get hurt. And that's just the bottom line. This is a very dangerous machine. This particular one is 3 horsepower. You ain't going to stop it. It would make your hand as round as that log if you got caught in it. If you come in here and this thing's turning like this right here, and you happen to get a finger in there, the wood and the rest ain't going to give. It's going to be that finger. So, respect. Learn to respect it. You must respect it. It can hurt you like a big dog. I can't emphasize that too much. All right, I'm going to move the camera over here, and I'm going to demonstrate first how to rough one of these things with a cutter. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not against traditional tools. I'm just saying that for the beginner, this is the cheapest, most inexpensive way to get started. If you go, once you know this is what you want to do, go buy you some traditional tools and learn to use them. They're easy to use. The only one that I found difficult was a skew, and I can use it. When I first started, I started with that, and I had a lot of trouble with the skew because the one I bought was square on the end. And man, you talk about catches. Now a catch, in case I hadn't explained what a catch is, it's, when you get, like if you're cutting right here, you put this corner in and it's too deep and it grabs it, it does like that. Okay, that's a catch right there. So that's why, you need to come in real careful. I have actually got this a little too close right here because, I can't cut here because it would fall off of there. All your pressure is right here and it's going to be down. So I actually need to back this up just a little, about right there. And that's going to give me enough room to come in here like so, like that, and cut this off. So first, let's do that. Let's do just a little bit of this first so I can show you how this works. Get everything on here, get it whirled up. I'm not afraid to turn this fast because of the way I put it between centers. So, the faster it turns, the better cut you get. But also, the faster flying objects come off of it, too. So right there, that's a pretty good speed. I'm at 726. You want to come in here with this cutter, and you see that screw? You want to come over to that screw and take that's like a quarter or less at a time, and come in here and walk your way down like this, and keep it straight for this particular exercise. I'm going to go ahead and rough cut this all the way down just so we can have something to work with. All right, that's how you rough cut right there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use the same tool best I can, is I want to square both ends. You see how this, it's wobbling back and forth on this end? Same thing on this end. I want to get them both squared in there, at least as far as I can, before I hit this. And so you want to come in here, and you want to move your rest in again. It's not a bad idea to check your center, because there's a lot of pressure right here, and if that isn't really tight, it can drive it down, and you'll be below center, which is not a good place to be. Above center is not so bad, but below center is not good, because you'll have a higher part coming in and hit your cutter, and it can jerk it back on you. You can never want to be below. All right, there you are, right there. That's good. I can tell you the truth, I'm just a hair low. Being as I'm demonstrating this, I'll get it exactly right. Now I'm a hair high. I'd rather be a little high than a little low. Okay, that looks like it's on the money. So bring it up in here. Always spin it first to make sure nothing's hitting. And tighten it down right about, moving just a hair closer, right about there. Always give it that last minute whirl. All right, come on in here, whirl it up. And we'll do the same thing on this end. It's all squared up now. Now, basically what you're doing here is you're scraping, which is the motion coming down. You're not really cutting. If you want to cut, you got to come in at an angle so it will slice like so. See how that sort of slices now? Now this is nobody recommends doing this. They recommend using a different tool for this, such as a skew or a gouge of some sort. This is the way I do it. Takes a little practice, because what you have to do when it's just spinning up this upper corner right here, if you come right here and you get too much of that corner, it's going to come in here and grab. So you need to always be watching this upper corner, and I always hold this at a 45, and you bring it over nice and slow. You need to really watch this though. So let's whirl it up and take a look at it. Do just a little bit of it to show you. And I'm going to go ahead and run this up to about 1,000 RPM. Come in here. I'll start off square, and I'll turn it like that. And watching that upper corner. And I'm just walking down. Never touch it till it stops. All right, now, can you see the difference between here and here? Night and day. Okay, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. That's what that does for you. All right, So much for this tool. So let's move on to the round cutter, which is this one right here. Now I had not sharpened this probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 bowls. But I have a couple videos on how to sharpen carbide cutters, and regardless of what they tell you, it can be done and it works just fine. So I suggest you look them up. Just go to my site and you'll see. It does not hurt to come back here and double check this. All right. I don't think, back up a little bit about gloves. I know it bothers people, but you know, these things flying off here hurt. They hurt me. I'll be 76 pretty soon. My skin's not what it used to be. So, you know, that's the way it is. Now, you can use these round cutters a lot of different ways. But what we're going to do now, we're just going to go ahead and round this corner right here. And we're going to make a, what the hell's it called? Can't think of it right now. Having one of those kind of senior moments. A valley sort of, you know, like a dip. But that's what you can use it for. You can also shear cut with this. So let's round this corner, and we're going to make ourselves a little dippity-doo there. And I'm going to show you how to shear cut it out. Again, I'm going to turn it up to 1 grand. Initially, I'm going to come in here holding this square. See, that was relatively simple. The difficulty comes when you want to put that down. When you want to shear cut in here, you've got to come in from the center and turn it this way to the center and turn it this way. You have to really be careful this opposite side, because if you get over here too much, it'll catch and it'll flip you, and that's a catch. Same thing here. You can come in here like this at this angle. It'll clean it up. First, I'm going to do a little more shear cutting right here with this to show you how this works. And you're holding it at a 45. Alright, this does a good job, but the only problem I have with it is easy to leave tool marks, because you know it's sort of hard to, it's sort of hard to keep it really nice and level versus the square cutter, and that's because you have different textures of wood and they want to make you move around. But it basically gets rear, you know, it cuts the end grain stuff quite well. And we're going to go in here and see if we can't clean this up a little bit. probably use a little more, but I just wanted to demonstrate it. This is pretty bad wood. This is punky. Better wood will get better results naturally. But it's a lot smoother than it was a while ago. Plus it's wet. I can literally see the wetness in it. So that's a demonstration on how to shear cut and how to make valleys and stuff using a round cutter. You can buy these round cutters in different sizes. All right. The other tool I said that I recommend is a point tool. Now these you can use these for a lot of different purposes too, but mainly you can make beads and stuff with them if that's what you want to do. But I very seldom make them. I have some bead making tools, so I hadn't made a bead with one of these in years. So anyway, basically, we come in sort of like this, not like this, okay? So that's basically how you use that tool. Absolutely nothing to it. And of course it's a sorry wood, it chipped it off right there. But you always have to placer your wood. So the other tool I recommend is a parting tool of some sort, whether you make it yourself or not. If I can find it. I put it back, but I don't know where I put it. Here it is. A parting tool, there's a couple of things you need to know about it. Is that this is a bevel right here. When you come in here, what you want to do is you want to sit it right here where it's way up high like that, and then bring your handle down as it starts to cut. And when you get a little deeper, you've got to come next to it and make what they call a relief cut. Otherwise, when you get deep, it'll end up jamming in there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You hear that? Okay. Parting tool has other uses, as you saw. I shear cut across the top of that. Makes it pretty nice. Well, that's about it for a beginner, guys. There's lots of things I could say, but this is my recommendation on how to start and start it the most economically way you can. And once you decide that you like doing this, well, then you can go ahead and invest in bigger and better tools. It's what I recommend, the easiest way to get in it. And if for some reason you decide you didn't like it, most likely you can sell everything you got at a very little loss. Used lathes are at a premium. You can go on Craigslist and find several of them. Everybody seems to think they're worth gold, which it might be good if you were selling one, but if you're buying one, it's not. I don't really recommend a used one. Might be all right, but you need to know why they're selling it, for sure. All right, there you go. I hope I could hope I helped you guys a little bit. If you got any questions, please feel free to ask them. I've been doing this several years. I'm not the world's only living expert, but I'm getting better at it. All right. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Call your mama. And I will catch you later.